Good evening, folks, and a very, very warm welcome to you, wherever you may be, to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. It's episode 53, and it's our 23rd episode this year, which means we're edging ever so close to our final 25th episode of the year. My name's Tonchi Prusats. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I'm coming to you live from Geelong in Victoria, where the weather has been very, very balmy of late, very un-Victorian-like, but coming from the harbour town, from the harbour city himself, Mr. Ante Grabovac, and he's my co-host, and it's a very, very pleasurable experience having you on the show week in, week out. How are you, Mr. Grabovac?
Excellent, Taunchy. Likewise, I've been enjoying this Oz Cro Soccer Show over this past, 23 shows, and we've got 2 to go before the end of this particular season. So, yeah, leading up right into the tourney as it's going to start at the end of September. So, very exciting.
Speaking of the tournament, the Australian-Croatian tournament, which is going to be held in Adelaide this year, we've got a major announcement regarding the tournament a little bit later on, which involves next week's show as well. So really itching to, you know me, Auntie, I can't keep a secret, but I'm going to have to do my darndest because we will be announcing something huge, something massive, something very entertaining later on in the program. But speaking of tonight's program, who have we got on the show tonight? Someone from your neck of the woods.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great joy tonight to speak to, as Adam said, I must call him Gospodin DAVOR BAJSIC. So DAVOR is the current coach of Hurstville Zagreb, and he's had a fascinating career, obviously, in the Croatian First Division over there, predominantly playing for Osijek and several other clubs. And, yeah, we're really, really looking forward to hearing his stories and his career and his time at Hurstville Zagreb and Sydney United and everything else.
Yeah, this should be good. So we've also got some footage of Brisbane, Croatia, the Brisbane Knights celebrating a grand final win. That was also good. We've got the usual roundup, the Australian-Croatian roundup. We've got the roundup, what's happening overseas as well. Obviously, it's old news now. The Vatrini are on top of the ladder. Yes, the Euro 24 qualifiers. And also, I hear today that there's UEFA are announcing already procedures and I guess how to get tickets for the Euro 24 championships in Germany next year. So already you're going to have to start putting your name in a registry or register or whatever they call them, those kind of things, expressions of interest. But they are going to be hard to get, I tell you what. They'll be harder to find in.
Everyone's talking about going. So yeah, they're going to be premium. Let me tell you.
Yeah, well, Auntie, let's not talk about next year when we haven't finished this season. But maybe just to sow the little bit of seeds, we should do an Oz Cro Soccer Show episode from Deutschland, huh?
Love it. Let's do it. Why not? Why not?
So anyone from Germany listening into tonight's show, they can maybe even host us. That would be great. But yeah, folks, we got a huge show. But before we get into tonight's nitty-gritty of a show, last week we had Christian Dorlich from St Albans Dynamo come on the show and talked about the Cro Cup for juniors. So it's an annual event, if you like, for mini roos and juniors and pre-NPL juniors. It goes from the under-7s all the way up to the under-13s. Last week at St Albans Dynamo, last Saturday, in fact, we had all 4 seasons in one afternoon, you could really say. Had a bit of this, a bit of that. Victoria's weather really put it out there, that's for sure. Even at one stage, it threatened to rain, but it didn't, held off. Sun came out, it was warm. Sun went behind the clouds, it was cold. It was one of those days you just had to have all be ready for all 4 seasons. But look, we've got a little bit of footage here, but there's some exclusive footage of the ever reliable, the hard-working St Albans Dynamo president, Ilija Dragicevic, getting really hands-on. But, it was a good day. As you can see, a lot of young people around everywhere. And well done to St Albans Dynamo on what was a fantastic... and there he is in the kitchen. And there is the St Albans Dynamo president himself rolling some cevape and doing a great job. And
that's all we love to see.
They were absolutely smashed. When it came to lunchtime. It really was absolutely nuts. But they did such a good job, and well done to everyone at St Albans Dynamo. I was told about half a dozen times, make sure you give us a good rap. Make sure you give us a good rap. Well, honestly, it was a fantastic day and a real one of those days where you just love catching up with people you haven't seen for a long, long time. And it's basically a reunion of a lot of people our vintage, and now it's great to see our kids now starting to mingle and remember other kids from other clubs in the community that they played earlier this year or during the season, and friendships starting to form. So with the next generation, great stuff. Well done, Dynamo St Albans.
Absolutely.
All right, we got a little bit of we got a notice. Speaking of the tournament, Ivo Spanicek from Wollongong says, anyone keen to play 45s at Croatian tournament? We are still looking for 2 to 3 players. Ante, me and you, we could saddle on, but mate, my knees won't allow me to unless I'm like the maybe I could be the assistant coach or I don't know, team analyst or.
Is Ivo holding trials or we just?
Ivo holding trials. Is that that would be the Wollongong Croatia over 45? Would it? South Coast right. Croatia. But mate, how have you been? You've been pretty busy this week or this past weekend with lots of, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but a lot of soccer action happening as well on and off the field.
Absolutely, Taunchy. Always excited with soccer action, and obviously we'll go through a lot of that in the news, and of course we will be discussing tomorrow night's big fixture as well, which very looking forward to sitting in front of the couch of and tuning into Melbourne Knights, hopefully giving it to Heidelberg United tomorrow night.
Yeah, you will not believe what's happening tomorrow night as well. Like we've got a juniors presentation night happening on the same day, unfortunately. So
unfortunate timing.
Yeah, it is. But what do you do?
You should have moved it to Knight Stadium. You should have moved it down over there.
Would have been a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, it'll be time for the Australian-Croatian, the news desk and the Australian-Croatian roundup with Ante. Folks, don't go away.
Who's to say who's young, who's old? Compared to who? Age is complicated. You see, most people really stop getting older at age 26, but their bodies just don't get the memo. So, hidden inside most over 50-ish-year-olds is the soul and spirit of a 26-year-old, with the same loves and desires and hopes and dreams, just in slightly different packaging. Why waste time wondering when you could be enjoying? It's your life, and life is what you make it. So, what are you waiting for?
That Gemlife is getting more and more closer for the both of us, I think.
Yoy. Over to the news desk, the Australian-Croatian roundup. Over to you, Ante.
Thank you so much, Torchy. And yes, the Australia Cup qualifiers, as we've mentioned, the quarterfinals are on tomorrow night, and that is at Knight Stadium. Everyone in Melbourne, everyone who's not at the presentation night in Geelong, head on down to Knight Stadium and cheer on the Melbourne Knights. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere and probably the biggest crowd at Knight Stadium for a very long time. And, of course, 7:30 kickoff. And in the head-to-head clashes between these two teams prior to tomorrow night's fixture, the Knights have had a 5-0 victory. That was earlier in the year in April. And the most recent, which was only a couple of weeks ago, was a 3-2 loss. And that game went in the favour of the Heidelberg Warriors. So there you go. It's going to be hotly contested tomorrow night. And, go the Knights. And we're looking forward to them hopefully making the semi-finals, Taunchy, which I think is on the next display. We've had a Victorian team in the semi-finals every year since 2014. And, of course, the Melbourne Knights have continued that. So well done to the Knights. And this is the highest ever sort of run for the night. So let's hope they can emulate what Sydney United did last season.
Yeah, as you can see by that slide there, so since there's a Victorian team that's guaranteed to get through to the semi-finals. We're hoping that club is going to be the Knights, of course. And if you have a look at the next slide there, the festivities start all the way from 5:30 p.m. So yes, it is a working day. But as soon as you finish work, head down to Knights Stadium. The doors will open from 5:30 p.m. in the Melbourne Croatia Social Club. It's expected to be about 26 degrees down here in Victoria. Unbelievable weather, actually. There's an extended beer garden. There's a roast bit lamb. Johnny from Grupo More on the harmonica. DJ Takats in the beer garden. It's all going to go on tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, the club is actually resorting to incredible lengths because they are anticipating a massive crowd. And on the actual Melbourne Knights website, you can actually see a diagram. This is the diagram of everything that's going to be happening, where there's going to be food vans. There's going to be, I think, 4 different bars open all around the facility. There is also an overflow car park. Now, if the normal car park gets totally full, and I'm sure it will, there's going to be an overflow car park, which is a kind of a little bit to the left there. It's number 11, right near the Australia Cup logo. That will be open in the event that the car park is full. And when that happens, the gate attendants on the main gates, they will signal you to go out to the main car park. Now, just moments before we even started the show, I got wind that Heidelberg United, so the other club, they also will be selling tickets to their fans on behalf of the Knights fans, basically to avoid any queues. So that's incredible. So I don't know if that's happened in a long time. I mean, you get in Croatia, the away club always buys a batch of tickets for its home fans, for example, for its fans. But this is incredible. So look, I'm hoping with the weather absolutely fantastic. Being a Thursday night, probably may see a few people not go that ordinarily would go. But it's 7:30 p.m. kickoff, and despite the live television broadcast on 10 Play, hopefully we'll get a crowd of in excess of 4,000. I'd be surprised if there isn't a crowd of at least 3,000, and I'm certainly thinking that there could well be a crowd in excess of 4,000 because Heidelberg, as we know, they're a well-supported club, and like the Knights fans at the Avondale game, they just came out of the woodwork. They're just people that haven't been to a Knights game in years started coming out, and this being a local rivalry, the old Croatian-Greek rivalry, it will be absolutely fantastic. We're asking all our fans to be on the best behaviour. All the national cameras will be on us this year, and you know how it is, especially that freaking Age newspaper down in Melbourne. They're looking for any little thing that they can find. So to all Melbourne Knights fans and to all visitors to the Melbourne Knights tomorrow, folks, best behaviour, simple as that. Ante, shall we continue?
I'll be behaving very, very nicely on my couch. Thank you so much, Taunchy. In the National Second Division, we saw an article from the Canberra papers where Canberra, Croatia have indeed submitted to the National Second Division, which is fantastic news. So we've got 3 Croatian clubs who, through social media or via other media, have actually said that they have submitted. So that includes City United, Melbourne Knights, and Canberra, Croatia, which is really, really exciting stuff. And of course, we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, withdrawn are the Gold Coast Knights. And we are hearing the Sutherland combination with the Rugby League Sharks. Cronulla Sharks has also withdrawn as well. So I don't know if there's other teams. I've heard Football SA as well has withdrawn. But everything else is... if anyone else has heard anything else, please put on the chats because we want to know.
I've heard some gossip down in Victoria. A lot of those submissions have been done as incomplete. And that's intentionally. Yeah, that's intentionally because the big contentious issue was that bank guarantee or the non-negotiable $500,000, what do you want to call it? bank guarantee, effectively. That was a big contentious issue. This is what I'm hearing. So unconfirmed, but, allegedly. You know what? These days, if you just say allegedly before everything, you won't get sued. Is that right? Because you just allegedly, you have to do the little rabbit ears, the little talk.
Correct. Quotation marks. That's right.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you go for a defamation hearing in court and say the judge says, "Did you use the rabbit ears?" No, guilty. Next.
Everything's off the record, right? All right, moving on to Adelaide. Adelaide keeps partying. I mean, look what happened down here. Grand final. This was an epic. So Croatia scored in the first minute. Then the Para Hills Knights had a penalty missed. And then they went 2-1 up by the 30th minute. And then look at the lateness of these goals. 87th minute and a penalty in the 95th minute. Got Croatia through. And so congratulations to everyone at Adelaide, Croatia. Champions, premiers, promoted, and the scenes down there were fantastic. And they have shared the full match on their social media, on their Facebook page. So if you do want to watch it, particularly those last few tense moments, it's fantastic viewing. So congratulations to everyone at Adelaide, Croatia. And, keep partying with the tourney. Of course, we also had the news that the Zagreb boys have landed as of today in Sydney. Of course, Friday night they are playing at the Bosna Club, and so obviously they'll be a massive feature at the tourney. I mean, all their tunes are just perfect for a tourney, and everyone can sing along and dance along, and so it's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Torchy in FQPL4 Metro, we have another championship victory, 3-0 to the Brisbane Knights over AC Carina, which is fantastic. So they've been promoted. They are premiers and they're champions. And so, I mean, we love all these grand final winners, and it's brilliant.
Now we've got a little bit of footage from the closing stages of this game. Folks, sit back and enjoy Brisbane, Croatia, or Brisbane Knights, another Croatian club that will this week be featuring prominently in the winners list.
Fantastic scenes, and hopefully all of those fans will be back at Suncorp Stadium this very weekend, because Sunday 17th of September at 7 p.m. Gold Coast Knights are playing in the grand final against Moreton Bay United. So they had a massive 5-0 win in the grand final qualifier, and so Gold Coast Knights, I mean, just what a season they're having, and of course did well in the Australia Cup as well. So, hopefully the grand final will be another icing on the cake on Sundays. But get on down to Suncorp Stadium, 7 p.m. kickoff for that one. So it's fantastic that they're putting a game on like that at a massive stadium, the actual feature stadium in the city. Although I don't know if it's going to get 60,000 capacity, because that is a pretty huge stadium, right? I'm sure all the buses from Gold Coast will become. Adrian will be organising all the buses up, right?
Yeah, big shout out to Adrian Portage, the president of the Gold Coast Knights, and also the director of Gemlife, our major sponsor for this year. But Ante, I am very, very much, in particular, very happy for everyone at Brisbane, Croatia. They've had a real tumultuous period over the last decade, even, I suppose, if you like, or the last few years in particular. But to see them to almost resurrect themselves in such a way, and hit the grand final, and it seemed like a really good support there on the grand final day. And it's just a matter of getting them now further up the competition pyramid structure up in Queensland, And eventually, wouldn't that be great one day to have a Croatian derby in the NPL Queensland division?
Oh, it'll be magnificent. Yeah, they've had floods and all sorts of things up in Brisbane over the past couple of years. So very well done. And speaking of Queensland, on Monday night, look at this. Gold Coast Knights, 7-1 winners in the women's grand final. So very well done to the ladies there. And some great scenes there. So massive scenes that they just keep on partying as well. Yeah. Okay, in the NPL ACT, we have had the semi-finals played, and O'Connor Knights 2 defeated Gungahlin United 1. And so that means that O'Connor Knights are through to the grand final on Saturday, September 23, which, according to what I saw, is going to be held at Deakin Stadium. Canberra, Croatia, they got through via penalties over Canberra Olympic. And so they, this weekend, play in the preliminary final against Gungahlin, who, of course, lost to O'Connor. So we could have a Croatian derby in the grand final in Canberra. And I reckon there's going to be a convoy of cars coming from Sydney, I reckon, if that happens. So that's going to be a festa and a half.
Well, if Canberra, Croatia gets through and it's an all-Croatian grand final, we will have to get O'Connor, a player or a captain from the O'Connor Knights and a player and a captain from Canberra, Croatia on next week's show. That will be a big ACT grand final preview edition. And we've got something big planned for next week's show, aren't it? And I'm itching to tell everyone, but I did promise that I was going to hold off until the very end to make that announcement. But yeah, that's going to be huge if Canberra, Croatia can get through. So all eyes on the nation's capital this Saturday night at 7 p.m. It's at Riverside Stadium. Canberra, Croatia taking on Gungahlin United, and I'm sure this will be live streamed, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Lock it in. And in the under 23s, Canberra, Croatia actually played O'Connor Knights, and it was a 2-0 win to Canberra, Croatia. And so that means they're through to the grand final as well. And it could be a double Croatian derby in the under 23s. How good would
this be?
And first grade. Imagine that. Because this weekend, O'Connor take on the Monaro Panthers at 1 p.m. at Riverside. And so if they make it, well, then they're through to the grand final against Canberra, Croatia. So that'll be fantastic.
How good would that be? A double all-Croatian derby in Canberra. Oh, let's hope that that's the case. Yeah, boys,
that'll be magnificent.
Yeah. Waratah Cup final, Sydney, Croatia.
Yes, there were fantastic
Tell us all about this.
Fantastic scenes at Leichhardt Oval on Sunday afternoon in a season that had a lot of downs. And even in the cup final, get this, we had about 5 players out due to already booking holidays. And we had one player who, because the original final was booked on September 3, he actually booked himself a ticket to the UFC, which was in Sydney on Sunday afternoon. So he missed the game because he was at the UFC. But Sydney United prevailed after, a backs-to-the-wall victory, 3-1 victory. So Jordan scored for Apia first in the 36th minute, and then they got a red card. And, so after that, Jennings equalised in the 45th. And then Lakalandra had a big hand, so he came off the bench and helped the 2 goals in the second period of extra time. 2 goals in 2 minutes, one to Antelmi, one to Kanako, and Sydney United were 3-1 victors. When it was 1-0, Apia had this glorious chance. They were down to 10 men, and they could have gone 2-0 up, and that would have been really, really dangerous. Luckily, it hit the actual crossbar, and Sydney United were able to go into the sheds at 1-1. But it was fantastic. Adrian Vlastelica, who was our guest earlier in the year, this year, he won man of the match. Well deserved. And so obviously his father, Miro, was the coach, and they had other reasons to celebrate in the Vlastelica family because his younger brother, Luke, his team, which is the old St George Budapest, actually got promoted to NPL 1. So we could potentially have a Vlastelica derby next year if they stay at Sydney United and St George, of course. And Devante Kloot, who has been with Sydney United since 2020, has already said his farewells, and he's moving on to different pastures. So I anticipate there will be a few of those in the upcoming weeks. And there's rumours that there could be Spider coming into coach as well. So you haven't heard it here. Okay, there's all rumours that's going on. So everyone's talking in the background. But well done to Sydney United.
Is Miro keen to sort of take a bit of a back seat? Is he?
I don't know what's going on. We've got to talk. We've got to, find out more. So, but it's just the whispers going around. Whispers. You don't know.
Oh,
if
it's
true
the
or not.
off
They're just
season.
whispers.
Yeah, absolutely. The village trach, as they say. There's a lot of that always happening this time of year. On to Newcastle Croatia.
Yes, Newcastle lost unfortunately in their semi-final, but they've got a chance to make the grand final as they take on North United Wolves this weekend on Saturday, 16th of September. So good luck. Get on down to Pasadena Oval, which is the home of Newcastle, and support them. And finally, in NPL Tasmania, the final round, unfortunately, Glenorchy lost to the team coming first. And so Glenorchy ended up third. And so they're actually in a grand final qualifier this weekend against South Hobart. So get on down there, all you Glenorchy fans, and cheer the boys on. And it was fantastic to see some recognition to Glenorchy by the NPL Tasmanian Federation. We've got the Coach of the Year to James Sherman. We've got the Golden Glove went to Jackson Gardner, and Rowan Pitt gave the Rising Star. And down in Tassie, they still give out those massive checks that they used to give out quite a few years ago. But they haven't heard about money transfers yet. The checks are still happening.
I don't mind the old checks, to tell you the truth.
I know, it's stunning. They look fantastic. Yeah. And in this week's winners list, now, I've got a story to tell about the winners list. Taunchi, at the end of the Waratah Cup match, Julian, who was near me, turned to me and he goes, well, Sydney United end up on the winners list this week, don't they? I go, yes, they do, Julian. And also got to say hi to Ante from South Coast United, who we met at the pub before the game, and he said, he's an avid weekly listener and viewer, and loves the show. So, thank you to the boys. So, we've got 6 teams on the winners list this week.
Oh, that is great news. I love hearing stories like that. And thank you to everyone who, in the past that they did come up to us, Auntie or myself, and just acknowledge the fact that they do listen to the show. It can get sometimes difficult. We see the numbers of viewers and we see the comments, but we just don't realize fully, the length and breadth of our viewership. So it is great to sort of meet people in real person, and we do appreciate your support. Now, we've got the League Premiers, the 2023 League Premiers, aren't there?
Yeah, we've got 6 logos up there, so that is fantastic. But in this week, we've also added a couple of other things, which is so far we've got 2 grand final winners, and we want to add more to that. Obviously, the Gold Coast Knights, we want to add to that this weekend, and a couple other teams still in semi-final contention. And, of course, what's going on in Canberra. And then the Cup winners. We've also got, now Sydney United have added to Canberra, Croatia, and the Gold Coast Knights. So, it's been a great season all around for the Croatian clubs. And, we'll be, looking forward to hopefully more recognition in the coming weeks. And, of course, the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, it is the Croatian roundup. Lots happening in Croatia. We're going to try and whiz through that. And then it will be then time for our special guest who epitomises what we are trying to do here at the Oz Cro Soccer Show. In effect, use soccer as a vehicle to bring closer the Domovina and the diaspora, as they say. So it's the bridge that links both our Croatian community here in Australia and Croatia proper. And our next guest is epitomises that. He's a former professional in Croatia when the HNL was just starting off in the 1990s. He's heavily involved on the Australian-Croatian scene here, and he's the current coach of Zagreb Hurstville, DAVOR BAJSIC. He'll be joining us after the Croatian roundup. So, folks, don't go away. It is the Oz Cro Soccer Show you are tuning into.
Welcome to Slaviček Studio Architecture. Our approach combines modern design with harmonious solutions tailored to your unique needs. We listen closely to your vision and turn it into a functional, beautiful living environment that truly feels like home. Our designs cater to your needs and evolve with you over time, encouraging deeper connections with family and friends. Specializing in custom residential homes and boutique apartments, we balance luxury and comfort to create a welcoming atmosphere for everyone to enjoy. Discover a world of inviting and captivating design at www.slavičekstudio.com.au. Contact us for a journey from idea to reality. Slaviček Studio Architecture, turning your dreams into reality.
Ante, welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Now, Ante, at the 2006 World Cup, which was in Germany, I had the privilege of going there in a working capacity. At the time, I was working for the Croatian Hrvatski Vjesnik, and going there, and the catch cry always was in German, Berlin, Berlin, wir fahren nach Berlin, which meant Berlin, Berlin, we're going to Berlin. And that was where the final of the World Cup was being held back then. I don't know where the final of the Euro 2024s are going to be held, probably in Berlin as well. But Croatia is well and truly German-bound, as this week showed us a very, very good win against Latvia. And then wee hours of Tuesday morning here in Australia, hard fought. But nonetheless, very valuable 1-0 win away to Armenia in Armenia. And Croatia now is on top with 10 points, the same amount as second-placed Turkey, and but with the game in hand. So this is great news, great result for Croatia. Croatia's next game will be against Turkey in Osijek in about a month's time. There is talk, there was rumours, and we love that word, rumours, that it would be played in front of an empty stadium because apparently there was some little bit of a kerfuffle that happened in Armenia. They're trying to work out, was it Croatian fans? Because Croatian fans were not permitted. They weren't selling tickets to away fans. But there's apparently the Croatian media reporting that there's an issue of semantics. That they were on a good behaviour bond for the next 2 years, the Croatian national team, of any racist or anti-discrimination chanting and things like that. But this wasn't actually anything to do with racism or anti-discrimination. This was purely just a fight in the stands. So you could argue that it's got nothing to do with racism and anti-discrimination, but it has to be proven that it was Croatian fans involved in the first place. Anyway.
Less said the better, yeah. Exactly.
The less said the better. Now let's return back to some more positive stuff happening in Croatia. Futsal. I've always got a sweet spot for futsal. I love futsal. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the Super Cup was played on the weekend. Now Futsal Dinamo, last year's reigning champions, they hosted basically second division outfit Šibenik, 1983, who won the cup last year. So this is the battle between the league champions and the cup winners. And Šibenik came to Zagreb hoping to cause a bit of an upset, but it wasn't the case. Futsal Dinamo defeated Šibenik 3-0. The Croatian Futsal League kicks off in 2 weeks' time, and that should be really good. Can't wait for that. That's going to be really exciting. Over the weekend, there was no break in the Prva Liga, i.e. the second division. So we'll go through some of those results that were played on the weekend. Sept lost to Vukovar 2-1. Zrinski back on the winners list, defeating BSK in the Osijek derby 1-0. We'll get a load of this. Orient, their first win of the season. And
against Šibenik.
Against the top team, the previously unbeaten Šibenik. 5-4. What a goal fest in Rijeka. That's insane. Dugopolje, 4-0 winners over Jarun in Split. Cibalia, 3-1 winners over Solin at home. And Dubrava team Kabel travelled to Imotski and came away with a 2-1 win. If we turn attention now to the ladder after 5 completed rounds, Šibenik, Zrinski on top with 12, Dugopolje 11, third with 11 points, and then Cibalia on 10 points. So look, this is good. This is great. This now means it's becoming a bit of a tight contest at the top of the Prva Nogometna Liga. And if we turn our attention now to the goal scorers, the interesting thing is there's a lot of foreigners here. Carlos Torres, I think he's Uruguayan, if I'm not mistaken. It could be Argentinian. He's already scored 6 goals for Šibenik. But what usually happens, is you get a lot of these players that get then snapped up by HNL clubs, because as soon as they start to show that little bit of potential, if you like, they get snapped up very, very quickly. Usually by Dinamo Zagreb, of course, because they've got all the money. But and then they put them out to pastures in some filiale or something like that. But
Of course.
of course, they've got the money. Speaking of money, there once again, it is not confirmed, but there's big rumours that Heidelberg may have just done the biggest transfer deal in history. 16-year-old Luka Vuskovic appears to be Tottenham bound. And there's rumours there could be anywhere between 10 and 14 million euros, the transfer fee. There's all sorts of talk and there's all sorts of discussion that in the opposite direction, we could be seeing Ivan Perisic coming back as part of a swap deal. The reality is they are being negotiated as two completely different, completely separate. Perisic, at best, he'll come back to Heidelberg in the winter during the winter break. And there's talk that if Vuskovic does sign for Tottenham, he'll come back or he'll stay put at Heidelberg on loan until he turns 18, which will be around about February of 2025. So lots of interesting stuff going on there.
Mile Adinak and Ange Postecoglou are very, very smart operators, and let me tell you, they're hungry for success at Tottenham, and so having their eye on these young players is really good for these players.
Put it into the perspective of these EPL giants. Let's say they fork out, let's say astronomical figure of 14 million euros. What is that? Now, this is a player in the making. They may or may not strike gold with a player like Vuskovic, right? But even if down the track they sell him off for 20 million, for example, they've made heaps of money on him. He probably hasn't figured as a main player in their team, pretty much similar to what happened with Modric at Tottenham. So, look, anything's possible, but
smart business.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's turn our attention back to the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga. So round 7 results. Those games were played last week. Turning our attention to the fixtures coming this weekend. Saturday morning, so basically Friday night in Croatia. Lokomotiva Zagreb and Rudeš, the co-tenants, do battle in Zagreb. Then the early hours of Sunday morning, Dinamo Zagreb hosting Slaven Belupo, NK Rijeka taking on NK Osijek. That should be a real good game in Rijeka. And then the wee hours of Monday morning, Gorica taking on Hajduk Split in Velika Gorica, and Varaždin at home to Istra. That should be another good game. As we look at the ladder there, Hajduk Split on top. Remember, before the break, they lost to Istra in like the 101st minute or whatever it was. An extraordinary game, an extraordinary result. Even more extraordinary was Dinamo's, injury time win over Osijek. So it really makes things quite interesting there at the top of the Croatian Football League standings. But one little interesting piece is that early tomorrow morning, Hajduk are playing their cup game against Omladinac in a little village team from Slavonski Brod. Apparently sold out already. Like, it's just ridiculous interest in this. And supposedly, Gorica have already, earlier today, have already announced that all tickets have been sold for the Gorica Hajduk clash as well. Hajduk have still got a parcel of tickets that they're selling to their fans, but pretty much all of the tickets to the rest of the stadium have been snapped up and sold out. So Hajduk Split, they are not only drawing huge crowds at home, they obviously are drawing big crowds. And, apparently there's a joke going around Croatian football circles that Hajduk Split is pretty much the marketing manager for 9 out of the 10 HNL clubs. They
are. They're so well supported, and it's fantastic to see. So, the more fans in the stands, the better it is. And I'm sure Davor will able to explain that as well. I think it lifts the players. I think it lifts, the interest. It's the more viewers, the better the game is, and the better that the players will play, and I'm sure that the boys react to that too.
Yeah, but definitely, folks, if you want to, make sure you start getting what's the word? getting your plans ready for next season. If you want to head off to Germany, start thinking about that very, very seriously right now, because before you know it, it'll be time to. You might just miss the boat, so you want to be thinking about that right now. I just saw that today. I thought, I better put my name down, because just start sowing the seeds in the wife's ear and saying, we're long overdue for a big holiday, so maybe why not now?
Or just say, Jen, I've got a business meeting. I've got to go. And come back in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks. We're going to take a very short break, and when we return, we are going to be speaking to our guest for tonight. Our very special guest, he's the current coach of Hurstville Zagreb, and he's also played in the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga back in the days when it was just forming as a professional football league in the then newly independent, in fact, prior to Croatia even gaining its independence and international recognition. We'll be speaking to a very, very interesting guest, DAVOR BAJSIC, straight after this break.
Who's to say who's young, who's old? Compared to who? Age is complicated. You see, most people really stop getting older at age 26, but their bodies just don't get the memo. So, hidden inside most over 50-ish-year-olds is the soul and spirit of a 26-year-old, with the same loves and desires and hopes and dreams, just in slightly different packaging. Why waste time wondering when you could be enjoying? It's your life, and life is what you make it. So, what are you waiting for?
Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show.
Oz Cro Soccer Show.
So over to you, Ante.
Indeed. Welcome back. Thanks, Torchy. Yes, and now it brings us both great pleasure to welcome onto the show a gentleman who has played for Osijek, for Cibalia, for Slaven Belupo, for Kamen-Ingrad, for Zadar, for Sydney United. Where hasn't he played? And now current coach of Hurstville Zagreb, Mr. DAVOR BAJSIC, welcome to the Oz Cro Soccer Show, and thank you so much for agreeing to be on tonight.
Thank you very much, guys. It's my absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me on the show.
Now, DAVOR, welcome to the Oz Cro Soccer Show, but there is one club you certainly won't be playing for, and that is the South Coast Croatia over 45s, because you're already going to be playing at the tournament. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And who's the lucky club, or who's the lucky team that you'll be playing for?
Gold Coast Knights.
Gold Coast Knights. Oh, there's President Adrian Pulic I'm sure he had something to do with that. Yeah.
But
Johnny's not going to be happy about it, but.
But so you'll be doubling up, though. You'll be coaching the Hurstville Zagreb team, right?
So
right? And you've got a
50-50.
You've got a pretty tough draw there, DAVOR. You're playing against Adelaide, Croatia on the opening night, so that's a huge assignment.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's going to be probably so many people there. It's going to be full stadium there, and I think it's good for the boys actually to experience that as well. And it's going to be an interesting match for sure.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about the season this year with Hurstville Zagreb. How did you come to Zagreb, and your experiences there, and have you enjoyed your first season as coaching there?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it, and it wasn't a season that we all hoped for and wanted, but it's just my first year. I'm adapting a little bit on the players, on the league. It's my first encounter with the NPL3, so the boys, they had to change the style because they play different style under Johnny, and it's all coming slowly together, and it takes time. Actually, everything is a process, and I think next year we're going to be much better than we were last season.
Yeah. Now, apart from the fact that you're coaching now at Zagreb Hurstville, recently you went to Croatia. You went because you're born in Osijek. You came back to your homeland. And before we talk about your playing career and before we talk about your coaching career, let's talk about your visit to Osijek. You actually was able to take some time and go visit the new Opus Arena. Now, I'm absolutely in love with this stadium. It's on my bucket list. It's on Ante's
I think everyone loves it.
Yeah, we talk about it so much.
Davor, the two words that taught you said most this year has been Opus Arena.
Yeah, and there's some footage. This is exclusive footage taken by you. Tell us your experience of the Opus Arena as a born and bred Osiječanin.
Yeah, but no, it was great experience, and actually I was lucky enough that I went on holiday at the time when they had the grand opening of the new stadium, and I was there with my brother, a couple of friends, and the atmosphere was amazing, as you can see on the footage. And Osijek actually had a great game, and they won 6-1. And very soon after that game was on Saturday. And then on Thursday, they played actually first international game on that stadium against some club from Hungary, and they won 1-0 as well. So yeah, it was pretty amazing experience.
Yeah.
What's the difference between this new stadium and the stadium you used to play at your home games?
It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Yeah, it's a great stadium. It actually reminds me on the Combank Stadium, but it's a little bit less capacity. I think capacity is about 13,000 people, but acoustics and everything is unbelievable because you actually have a feeling that the stadium capacity is about maybe 30, 40, 50,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Now, mate,
everything is closed. It's actually a real football stadium.
Yeah, and everyone in Osijek must be excited that the national team are playing there.
They are.
Now, apparently, I'm reading that Osijek have got like a record number of members and a record number of seasons ticket holders, which is no surprise because of the new stadium as well. But has that given the city a real buzz? I mean, Osijek's a beautiful city. I spent some time there in 2006, maybe 2-3 days, and I always said it was quite a pleasant city. People are very friendly.
Very friendly.
Yeah. But has it given the city? Has it given the city a real boost? Because it has been tough in recent years. A lot of people leaving Slavonia. Obviously, we've heard stories about the swine industry, the pig industry, on its knees because of all sorts of affairs there and that sort of stuff. But has this given the people of Osijek, the people of Slavonia, a real boost, a real confidence kind of boost in their daily lives?
Yeah, I remember last time I was there, it was in 2018, and I think it wasn't a really great situation, and people, they were pretty much sort of, how it's there, they're complaining about this, about that. But I have to say I've got completely different experience this time. The people, they look happy. The city looks really, really good. And I think it's much more sort of happier atmosphere there in Osijek at the moment, and of course that stadium and everything. Because people in Osijek, they live for not only for soccer but for any kind of sports. There, basketball, handball, European handball. So they love all those stuff, and you can see excitement there, and there was sort of full stadium on the both games. And I think the membership and everything is sold out. And it's what's left there is actually that Osijek is progressing through the competition very well, and I think it's going to be better and better.
So which team do you support? You played at about 4 or 5 different clubs: Slaven, Belupo, Kamen-Ingrad, Cibalia, Osijek. Yeah. Which is the club that's most closest to your heart?
NK Osijek is my club. Yeah, that's where I spent my youth. I got there. I started when I was 10 years old. And I went through all the youth academy, through all the age groups, signed my first professional contract there, played for 4 years. And so it was maybe about 12 years, altogether. Then I left. Yeah. But I do like the Kamen-Ingrad and Slaven Belupo as well, because actually that was when I was at the peak of my career, and that was the best 3-4 years of my professional soccer career there.
And for those people who don't know, tell us some of the big players from Croatia who have obviously, other than yourself, of course, who have come out of Slavonia.
Of Slavonia.
There's quite a big list.
Yeah, there is. I don't know, like, are the people familiar with all of them? Yeah, but apart from Davor Šuker, who is the biggest name that came from NK Osijek, there is Robert Špehar, Nenad Bjelica, Goran Vlahović, Zoran Zekić, Zoran Kastel, Krunoslav Vendulić, Miroslav Bičanić. There is a really, really, really long list, of the players. Because I think the NK Osijek, they always, even in ex-Yugoslavia, it was rated one of the best top 4 clubs actually that have the best youth academies in ex-Yugoslavia.
Well, now with the facilities they've got at the Opus Arena, geez, that's like
they're unbelievable.
Absolutely.
They have about like sort of 3-4 training pitches there. They have a little pitch for the youth games as well, with maybe little grandstands capacity about 1,000 people also covered and everything. And I think facilities that they are amazing and everything that is included there.
Yeah. Now, before we go any further, just a little shout out to one of our viewers, Steve Kopjar. He says, my dad was from Osijek, so I'm loving hearing about this. Thank you, Steve. But just to be quiet about that comment about Collingwood in the grand final. Like, who wants to know? Who wants to care about that other sport? We don't want to know about that other sport. But Davor, you mentioned someone there, one of your former teammates, if you like, Zoran Zekić. Now, you've got a very interesting story about Zoran Zekić. Zoran was, up until recently, the coach of Slaven Belupo. And they're saying he was one of the most underrated coaches in Croatia because, as we know, Slaven Belupo hasn't got a very big budget, but he did very, very well for what he had there. But, you obviously know Zoran Zekić very well personally, yeah?
Yeah, we've been friends for a long period of time. And actually, I started in the age of 10 and he did as well. So we played together for so many years. And after that, like, when we changed the clubs and everything, like we played for Cibalia Vinkovci as well together. And then 6 years after, I came back from Israel and then we played in Kamen-Ingrad together as well. And I was his best man at his wedding.
There you go.
And we are really, we know everything about each other. We are really good friends. And even though if you were watching us on the pitch, you would have thought that we were the worst enemies, because we were. He's got a very short fuse. So do I. And there was always some, and we didn't need much to get get set off and start screaming and yelling at each other.
Yeah. Now we've got some footage, Damir, of Davor, of you in the early days.
Where did you find that?
Yeah, well,
archives. We've got archives
supplied from the archives.
Okay.
Here's some early footage of the Croatian league when it was in its formation, in its formative years, and a very, very young, I think it was about a 21-year-old Davor Bajsic as well.
I was here 18 actually.
18, were you?
Yeah.
They still got black and white.
That's my
still black and white.
Was this in Osijek?
Yeah.
I pogodak 1:1, mladi Davor Bajsic koji je toliko čekao priliku da mu ukaže Ivo Šušak. Vidite na koji način
još si mladi.
Ovaj svoj
Even with 21 I'm still young. Not anymore.
U 66. minuti izjednačenje, solo akcija 21-godišnjeg Davora Bajsića.
So that's fantastic. That's fantastic to see that.
The first one was actually my first ever goal in I was 18 years old.
18.
Oh, wow.
But I had my debut in ex-Yugoslavia. Yeah, I played when I was 17 against Željezničar, in Sarajevo.
So that would be what, the last year of the
last year of the Jugoslavska Liga,
yeah. Now, how was it? So, I mean, let's go back. Let's go back in time. So that was, I know, as what I was 18 at the time, whatever thereabouts. Oh, we're vršnjaci then. He couldn't tell.
Just don't say how old we are now.
Yeah. What was it like? Well, I mean, it was obviously the war was about to start. It was. It was such an unknown time. It was scary probably. But then you've got the start of this new league, this new soccer league, Croatian league. Must have been, on the one hand, really worrying about what was going to happen with the country, with Croatia. But it must have been really exciting being a part of the Croatian Football League from the early days.
Yeah, that was actually the first season ever, and we, because of the war and everything, it was there, so first season we didn't play much in Osijek because we couldn't, so we played like in Đakovo, we played in Donji Miholjac, we played in some different, like just places about maybe 40-50 kilometers away from my hometown, but it was a little bit safer to play because you never knew what's going to happen.
So where were you based? Did you train in Osijek?
We were traveling all the time. No, we were just on the road all the time, in the bus, in the hotels, and we were traveling all the time for a year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're saying some of the away games used to be challenging as well, because
pretty much for us, all the games, they were away games because we were away from our home ground.
And what are some of your favorite games that you played in Davor? What are some of those special memories that you have playing for Osijek?
For Osijek, but surely that first one when I scored my first goal, and that the other one that you show, because that was the very important game for us. I think we were fighting to get a spot in Europe in Intertoto Cup. And it was second last game of the competition, and we were down 1-0 all the way to the 70 minutes, and we needed 3 points because our last round was against Hajduk Split, and we knew that we couldn't count on those points there, and because of that goal and everything, and Robert Špeha very soon after that scored the second one, so it was great because we made sure that we go into the Europe next season. After that.
And did you play most of your career in the midfield? Is that where you prefer to play?
Yeah, most of the times.
Central mid or along the wings or?
Yeah, central attacking mid. Yeah, pretty much.
What we call
that guy that doesn't run too much. Yeah.
And you mentioned. The guy that you mentioned to me, a special game that you played with Davor Šuker, etc. Tell us a little bit about that particular.
That was actually just soon after war, and that was charity game that was played in Zagreb, and we played the best team from city of Osijek and best team from city of Zagreb. So for Osijek, they play all those players that I mentioned before, like Robert Špeha, Davor Šuker, Miroslav Žitnjak, Alen Petrović, Nenad Bjelica, Goran Vlahović, and on the other side for Zagreb they play Robert Prosinečki, Zvonimir Boban, and many others. Yeah, so it was all the money that was collected there on that game. It was sent actually to rebuild the Vukovar.
Yeah,
that must have been special.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
So after you left Osijek in 94, 95 thereabouts, then you signed with Cibalia, spent a couple of years there, then on to Slaven Belupo, and then you went abroad. You went to was it to Israel? Was that?
Yeah, I played 2 years in Israel for Hapoel Haifa and Hapoel Rishon LeZion, which is just the suburb next to the Tel Aviv. Yeah.
Yeah, what was that experience like? Was that that was obviously your first time living abroad? Was it living outside of Croatia? Was it?
Apart from like traveling all the time, and that was the first time there. I have to say that the experience was good. Yeah. It was also they were building the league. It was getting better there, and lots of players from Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia, they were going actually to Israel to play. Good experiences there from there, and it was very nice. Yeah.
But no place.
And then you ended up coming back to Croatia. Is that right? After
that, I came back. I joined the Kamen-Ingrad, where actually there was so many players in Kamen-Ingrad back at that time that we knew each other, because there was a Krunoslav Vendulić, Zoran Zekić, Damir Vujica, Ivo Smoje. So we actually, all those players, we all played together in NK Osijek from our age of 10, 11 to our age of 18. And actually that was unbelievable 2 seasons with Kamen-Ingrad. That's actually when you can imagine Velika is a village of like 2,000 people live there, and the Vlado Zec, the president, built up the great stadium, brought the club from the 5th division all the way to the 1st division in 5 years.
Wow.
And that's when we had that game UEFA Cup against Schalke there, when the stadium and everything, and we did pretty well. Yeah.
So were you living in Velika? Were you living in Osijek or in commuting?
No. We lived in Velika,
Yeah, and that's an amazing story. And whatever happened to the club? I mean, obviously, was it Vlado Zec? He was the president. His business empire collapsed, did it? Or there was...
Yeah, when the business collapsed and everything, that's when everything went downhill for the club as well. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the club...
Unfortunately, it is. I don't know how it looks now, but it was beautiful stadium.
Yeah,
great facilities, everything. It was brilliant.
Then you had some stints at Zadar, Grafičar, Vodovod. Where's that? That's near Osijek, is it?
Grafičar Zadar is that was my last club actually, and Grafičar is the club in Osijek. It was competing in the third division, but that was actually in Zadar. I broke my leg, and that pretty much was my career.
That was almost career ending, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I played. I was coaching like the under 15s there, and I just helped my friend who was coaching there to play him with my experience with everything in the third division. But it wasn't even close to that what it was before. Yeah.
So how did you make your way to Australia?
I mean, of all places. Yeah, I know. Interesting.
Interesting. What happened after I broke my leg? I had a really big issues with that, and I had 4 surgeries, and at one point it was really close to lose my leg actually, and there was 3-4 years, 2 small kids, everything, and economy wasn't great there. So we decided actually to try to come here and start from the scratch again. Yeah.
So did you end up playing at Sydney, Croatia? That was your first
year when I came here. I played for first grade, 1 year, and at the same time I was coaching under 15s.
Yeah, and you had a very successful year
that year. We won the prime minor premiership with the 12-point clearance, I think, in front of everyone. Ante Milicic was the coach. There was so many great players that they played there. Actually, one of our under 13s coaches now, Joe Verkic, was there, in Hurstville Zagreb. Ante was a player manager. There was David Zrilic. It was Luka Glavaš. It was a great team. Good team. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic season.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't win the grand final because we ended up first. We had that weekend off, and I think it's just like it wasn't good for us because like we were pretty good. Like we had that momentum and we were on a good run. And that weekend, when we had that weekend off, didn't do any good to us. So we had Olympic game in semi-final. We were 2-0 up till the 75th or 80th minute, and then we lost 3-2.
Far out. Disappointing. So since then you've been coaching, and tell us, what's the difference, do you think, between coaching these days and maybe coaching when you were young and the way you were coached, etc.? I mean, is there a big difference in the kids and the situation? Is there, do you have to handle things differently?
I don't know.
Particularly, we're talking about kids.
I can't tell you about the coaches back then, because I wasn't coached back then. I was a player, so I actually my perception of everything and seeing everything with different eyes. So really often when I was player, I was like sort of also sometimes getting in an argument, didn't understand coaches and everything. But now that I'm coaching, I understand everything they said before. It's much harder to be a coach than a player, because as a player you have to think about yourself and your performance, while as a coach you have to actually manage all the group of the young people and the players and everyone with the different personalities, with it's sometimes very challenging and hard.
Yeah. Now, Davor, on this show this year, we've already gone 23 episodes this year. We've had some great guests. We've had a lot of young kids. Well, you're not young kids, but young Australian Croatian players who are now playing in Croatia. And we talk about football, soccer being that vehicle to bridge the gap between the Domovina and diaspora.
Yeah.
In your eyes, and you've played in Croatia, you're from Croatia, you come here now, you're involved with the Australian Croatian football scene. What more could be done? Is there something that could be done to really make the links even more closer, even more pronounced. I mean, we had an under-14 Australian Croatian boys team this year travel to Vukovar, and that was what they say is the start of, hopefully an annual thing. So that's one step in the right direction. What about coach-player exchanges and things like that?
I'm not sure about that, but as you said, now that the under-14s, they went to Vukovar to play on the tournament. So there are so many tournaments in Croatia, and probably can be organized here in Australia, where some clubs from Croatia can be invited as well and come here. And so the coaches, the players, that everyone can share that experience from here and from over there. And I think like it's that will be some right direction to do, and maybe give the opportunity to the players and teams here from Australia to go a little bit more often over there in Croatia and stay there maybe for 7-10 days with our best clubs and play against their teams, their age groups, just to have that experience and see like where we are related to that, like where they are in Croatia. Yeah.
Excellent.
And David, what do you think? In 1998,
no hard questions, please.
No hard questions in 1998.
In 1998, I thought Croatia would never, get to a bronze medal match in a World Cup ever again. And then in 2018, we got to the World Cup final. 2022, again coming third in the world. What is it about? Do you think about this group of players and these coaches? What is it about, Croatian people that make us so successful?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just environment there, and everyone really lives for sport. The kids there, like they're out on the street. There is so many facilities. I can say for my hometown, there is that, like it calls like Srednjika, which means like they build those the city builds those futsal pitches and not only futsal pitches but volleyball, basketball and everything. And then young people in the teenagers and the kids in the age of maybe 17, 18, they'll be there like sort of from 6, 7 in the afternoon all the way till 10 o'clock at night. And playing against each other and just like, and that, just to go on that question that you asked me, was the difference from there and how is like sort of in Croatia, the kids, they're learning, they're developing themselves, like because they are going on the street, they play against each other, they don't need the coaches, they don't need anyone, and they're just trying to find out the things about football, what works for them on their own. So there's the difference. But here like it's more like there is not that much opportunity because of like life is really, really fast. It's hard to get from the place to place very quickly, you know what I mean? So if you want to go there, the kids, they have to be driven by their parents. There is no that, like neighborhood, and then everyone gets out together and they just play for fun and enjoyment, and that's actually where you actually learn, and when you realize the things which ones are good and which ones are not good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very, very good point. And David, Hurstville Zagreb's got this fantastic facility with Penzas Park, which is obviously artificial surface. But do you think artificial surfaces are good, or should they play grass? What would you would have played on some very interesting pitches when you were growing up.
Yeah, but the grass is always better. Yeah, that's for sure. But if you were able to see the pitches on which we were playing, yeah, you'll be like sort of very happy with your artificial grass. But yeah. I mean, it's good, I guess, because of the weather conditions and everything. So if it's raining for 10 days, it's good to have artificial grass, and it's sort of always you can fit 3-4 teams there. Then can have some sort of activities and training. While if you have a grass pitch, the park is closed, and you are unable to train, which is not good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David, we wish you all the best in the over 45s of the tournament in Adelaide with Gold Coast Knights. And we wish you all the best as coach of Hurstville Zagreb in the tournament as well. And, of course, next season with Hurstville Zagreb. And, I've really enjoyed watching your team this year. And, it's been fantastic. You see some glimpses of, the potential there. And hopefully 2024 is a bigger and better season for Hurstville Zagreb.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. They're a very good group of players here, very, very good work ethic. And in so many matches, we couldn't could have achieved much more this year, but in so many matches, when we outplayed our opponents and everything, we just didn't find a way to finish them off. So that's something that we have to work on, and I'm sure and believe that next season we are going to be much better and bring more joy to club supporters.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to show them more of your videos, like the one.
Maybe I should register myself.
Maybe. You never know. Anyway,
they're good. They're excellent. It's just it was the first season. I'm sure that next season is going to be much better.
Yeah, they're probably getting used to your system, and vice versa. So
who knows? Maybe absolutely. The Adelaide Croatia Soccer Tournament could be a little bit of a audition for a lot of players, maybe even teammates from you at the Gold Coast over 45. You never know. Davor, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me on the show.
Really appreciate it. That was
DAVOR BAJSIC. Great interview there, fantastic interview, and a gentleman who really epitomises that link between the Domovina and the diaspora in the footballing sense. Folks, don't go away. When we return, we've got this major announcement to make about next week's show, as well as the Australian Croatian Soccer Tournament happening in Adelaide. But before that, massive game coming up tomorrow. If you are in Melbourne, Geelong, Ballarat, Bendigo, any of those little cities around the Melbourne metropolitan area, make your way to the stadium tomorrow. Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. There's a lot happening in the next few weeks. Some huge things happening. And obviously the gala night has been announced. And it's also the MCs have been announced for the gala night this week. But there's also a lot of information with regards to that. Saturday, 30th of September, just around the corner, featuring live band Grupo Amore from Melbourne with the MCs Belinda Fusco and Ante Smolic. Also be some very special items up for the auction. Obviously, the Zapršić boys, they are coming to town as well. They'll be at the tournament as well. But the price includes, there's a price, $165 per ticket or $1,550 for a table of 10. Bookings are essential. Now, there's you can book your tickets online there. www.trybooking.com/CKBMD. That's CKBMD. We can contact Daniela Brazali on 0467 491 454. But the bookings need to be made by this Saturday, 16th of September. That is very important. That's why we are really urging anyone who is planning on going to the Adelaide the Croatian Soccer Tournament Gala Night, which is there at the William McGarry Room at the Adelaide Oval. It should be an absolutely fantastic night. Now, one of the MCs, Ante Smolic, this man needs no introduction. He's a very entertaining compere. He's been involved with the Night Train podcast several years back as well. He's nowadays does the odd MC gig, frequently does his MC gigs, and he's got to be seen to be believed. You want to pay $165 just to see this guy in action, aren't you?
He is hilarious. He is fantastic. I'm sure he'll bring the house down and say, Smolik has got a unique sense of humor. And yeah, if you haven't tuned into some of his songs, they're still available on YouTube. The Preston Macedonia one is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. No, if you don't know what we're talking about, go on YouTube and Google it. But Anthony Smolich is a composer, part-time composer of original songs. And guess what? He's coming on the show next week. Yes, that's right, folks. He will be.
That's going to be chaos. That's going to be chaos.
Major chaos. He will be coming on the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Who knows? If we've been nice to him, he might even drop a hint of what we can expect on the night of the gala night at in Adelaide. But yeah, that's on next week. And yeah, big game happening in Adelaide in Canberra this weekend, and hopefully, fingers crossed, toes crossed, shoelaces crossed, everything crossed, that Canberra, Croatia gets over the line and we have an all-Croatian NPL ACT grand final. Would that not be awesome, auntie?
That'd be incredible. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Suncorp Stadium will be rocking on Sunday night as well with Gold Coast night. So lots of semi-final action and grand final action, as well as Pasadena over in Newcastle as well. So yeah, we the football continues.
Could have a few more names added to that premiers and grand finalist list, that's for sure. Folks, it was episode 23. We've got only 2 more episodes left of the current season, and that'll take us right up until the Adelaide Croatian Soccer Tournament. So next week, join us for what should be a massive penultimate episode of the Oz Cro Soccer Show for 2023. Until then, good night, laku noć.
Laku noć.